Hi there. Had a few requests from a few friends to put up a post to show off my collection of vintage radios. I've been collecting vintage radios or vintage valved equipment since 1988 when I was 15 years old. I went to stay with my auntie and uncle in Matamata. In the back of my uncle's shed I found a wooden box with an interesting looking screen on the front. Not knowing what it was, I asked him. He said it's a radio. So we plugged it in to see whether or not it would work. It didn't. So we took it to the local repair shop. When we got it back, we plugged it in, and a couple of things really grabbed my attention. The first thing was the quality of the audio. I'd never heard anything quite as good as the audio that was coming out of that radio. And the second thing was the cabinets and the grains and the way they were built and the way they were designed and the way they looked. It really grabbed my attention, got me interested. So it's sort of grown from there. Along the top of here I've got that's the radio, well, not the radio but the same model as it has got me interested. That's actually a radio 1936 model BYC, which is quite ironic because my first three letters of my surname is the same as the model number. So that's probably another thing that got me interested. We've got a New Zealand made Philips next to it, and then we've got the broadcast only version of that one there. Along the top we have a couple of Philips. They are the P-base Dutch European varieties, and then we've got the Radio Corp Columbus and Courtney's along there. There's three of them, and that's Radio Joy made by FW Mountjoy here in Auckland. And we've got a couple of Philips, a pacemaker, and a three-way autocrat receiver that runs off 12 volts, off your DC 12 volts and off 230 volts depending on where you want to go. Got an SW86 and a collar and beel. That I believe was my great grandmother's. Then over in the corner here we've got an AK-145 and a New Zealand made Pacific. This one here's got an interesting dial on it. It's a Sheffield with a Kiwi on the dial, New Zealand made. Back in the 30s and 40s they really promoted the by British. So it's unusual to see New Zealand made on them. Normally they'd state British made. And then we've got Zenith, American Zenith, and an RCA, and an old Fada. This one here is an unusual one. It's a TCC. I'm not too sure who makes it or who distributed it or anything. It's an unusual name. It doesn't really yield too much other than the odd capacitor. We're doing an internet search. So if you know anything about it, please leave a message in the below the video. I'd really be appreciated. The Wells and Gardner Gold Branson, and a big old 9 tube Philips. That one there covered from broadcast to 50 megs. We have a couple of Pilot 393Bs sitting in behind there. One's the AC/DC version, and the one on the right is the AC version. They're the same chassis as what's used in the American sets. In fact, they're an American made chassis, but they were fitted into locally made cabinets here in Auckland. A few more Kiwi made radios, and that there's a big German made Philips. A Daventry, it's a homemade set, that one there. That one there was made towards the end of the war, towards the beginning of the war, I believe, about 1939. And when my grandfather returned from overseas, he bought it off the guy who built it, and it served as the family radio for quite some time. till the 1960s when it was replaced by a Murphy radiogram. Philips 2510 with its 7-inch speaker, and a model R9, the RCA, and an AirZone and a Philips. This one here is quite an unusual set. It's made in China. It's Chinese. I'm not too sure what the model number is, but the interesting part about it is it looks to me like it's designed or copy of a Grundig or a Philips design, but they got the engineers got it a bit wrong when it comes to the dial, because the dial pointer only covers half the dial. It doesn't run along the length of the dial. There's a wooden ZL1AGG. Let's come around here, there's a few more. There's a Philips Hyversum with its extension speaker. Here's a Philco. Couple more Philcos, a couple of pacemakers in there as well. This one here is quite unusual. It's actually a wooden case, I mean a metal case. It's must have been a bit of a surplus or a shortage of timber, or timber builders when it was made, and they've turned it into a metal cabinet. Here's a big pilot, motorised dial pilot. I'm missing the escutcheons off it, unfortunately. When I got it, it didn't have any on it. But hopefully one will turn up at some stage. There's a Grundig FM, which is quite unusual in this part of the world. We didn't get FM until quite later. There's a Philips Philco Model 90. Couple of New Zealand made sets. Another 2510. Here's my console ZL1AGG. They've all got the same chassis in them, they're all slightly different cabinets. The only one I haven't got is the brown Bakelite cabinet. Some more Columbuses. There's an Ultimate. Pacemaker flip-top portable. Little spy radio. Goes quite well. It's a PRC10 or something, I think the model number is. Maybe I'm mistaken. I'll have a look later on. I'll put it in the comments. A couple more waiting restoration. Getting hit by speakers as I go through here. There's an old STC for the Australians, and I think it's a 630 Philips. I haven't got a chassis for it, unfortunately. Cabinet's suffering from its usual fate with that particular model. I borrowed this, absolutely love it. There's a control panel off 1ZD, which was the Bay of Plenty Tauranga AM station. But yeah, I didn't have the rest of the transmitter. There's a few more sitting up here. There's a Radio Corp Philips, and a little Philco Cathedral, Wells and Gardner. These three here have all got the same chassis in them, but different cabinets. So obviously the different styles of cabinets you can get. Interesting design on the Pacific there. Oh, the knobs has fallen off too. There's a pilot. That was all painted white when I got it. It looked terrible. Temple. Philips Theaterette. That's an AC, a battery, sorry, a battery at 6 volt operated battery set. The little Philips in the corner there. Little 732 Philco. That one there was the very first set I restored, and didn't do too good a job of it. I'm not 100% impressed with it, which is why it's sitting way down here. One of these days I'll have another crack at actually repairing it, restoring it. But you learn lots over the way, and the more you do, you learn by all your mistakes. A few transistor radios. A couple of pacemaker radios. They're the first transistors to be made in New Zealand. Big Zenith. A couple of old car radios sitting under there as well. And of course the Gun 100 guitar amplifier that was made here in Papatoe during the 70s. Got a few communications receivers. AR88 LF, that's the low frequency version. It goes quite well, that one. And CR100 or B29. The old B40. That's the D model, that one. And a little cabin radio, Eddystone cabin radio. Another CR100. The NC156, that's the one that appears in the other video that I've got on here as well. We've got the 941 SWB. This is a copy of the HRO, the National HRO, made by I believe Collar and Beale down in Wellington during the wartime, and uses an HRO dial on it with the same slip and coil box design. It actually performs really well, that particular set. But when I got it, it was all covered in rust, and it looked a real mess. But I've cleaned it back and resprayed it in the original colour. Then we have an S38. It's the S38. It's the B, I think, from memory. Yeah, it's the B one. A couple of GR10s. That's the S38C. And this setup here, I'm going to do a video on this at some stage. This is one of the first, if not the first, single sideband transmitter receivers in the country, and it was built by Dave Brown, ZL1AGG. We think it's sort of transmogrified out of an AM transmitter originally, but it's been built into a single sideband unit, and I believe this is the set that that Dave actually worked most of his DXCC, if not all of it. So it certainly performed very well. I'm caretaking it for the now ZL1AGG mic. So we're going to do a video on this at some stage. We're going to set it up and actually have a QSO on it. I had one this morning on it, used it this morning, and it's still performing really well after all these years. And this is another little repair job on the bench here. This is another friend of mine, Nick's SW86 SX25 receiver, and I've had a few little problems with this one. Still got a few little problems with it. I'm still not 100% happy, but we've converted it to 230 volt. It was 110, and done a few little repair jobs inside it, and done a bit of an alignment and bits and pieces, but I still can't get band 4 to work. Band 4 won't oscillate. I've replaced everything around it, so that's completely stumped me, that one. I've even isolated the band change switch and put the capacitors straight to the grid and plate circuits, and it still won't go, so it's a bit of a mystery. We've got some test equipment here, some power supplies down the bottom, and the ICO signal generator and signal tracer, and the advanced signal generator, and there's a Heathkit audio oscillator there as well, cheap oscilloscope, and a few other little bits and pieces, capacitor checker. We've got our amplifier section here. Got the HC10 Pi sitting up there, and that's a Philips AG9015. That sounds really good, that amplifier. It's one of my more favourite amps. We've got a Pioneer SMQ300 and a Pioneer SA400. These ones here are Kiwi made fountains. We've got the Mark 1 and the Mark 2 1010s. The Mark 2, the silver face one, that's a hybrid. It uses a solid state preamp and a valved output stage in it. And then of course we've got the 1010, or the 88 should say, which is the one below it. It's slightly lower power, uses ECL84s instead of ECL86s. And here we've got the ham Radio Shack. Being a caretaker as well for the Drake equipment there, the TR4Cs. When that's up and running, it goes very well. It's a nice radio. And we've got the VHF and UHF equipment there, the ICOM IC251A, and some little 70cm radio which I've never used. Up here we have the 10-Tech Argonaut 505, and that's a very nice little set to use, and it's a true QRP set. The amp puts out about 4 or 5 watts. We have the R1000, and we have the 9R59D receiver, and we've got there the Heathkit DX40 and its VFO. That actually works quite well. I've had that up on the odd nostalgia evening. I still have to work a changeover relay because I use a separate antenna for the receiver and the main antenna for the transmitter, but I have to go into switch things into mute and then turn on the transmitter, and yeah, I'll figure out a relay one day. Underneath here I've got the Yaesu 400 line. Got an FTDX 400. That one there is a little bit soft at the moment. I suspect some of the tubes in the receiver section are a little bit down, and I haven't got around to spending the $200 US to buy a new set of tubes for it, excluding the finals. And then we've got the FRDX and the FLDX 400 twins, Yaesu twins. The receiver works very, very well. It had the usual problems with the filters when I got it. I rebuilt the filters, repacked them, and that goes very, very nicely. The transmitter likes to eat finals. I haven't figured that one out yet. Then we've got the Kenwood TS520S. That was my main HF station when I first got on here. I had the loan of an FD401B for a little while, and then I got this. I used this. That was back in '93 after I passed CW and got my HF ticket. I spent many hours on that one DXing, and then upgraded to the the TS830 has a VFO 230 and the AT230 and the SP230 as well. And my nice ambient noise level around town, that's during the day, wait to see at night. So that pretty much covers the collection in the ham shack and workshop. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.